Well, welcome back to the homestead. I'm out here today working in the garden a little bit. Still trying to do a lot of prep work to the garden before we ever try and put a crop in it. But we do have a couple of fruit trees planted around the perimeter. And this winter, the power company came through and cleaned power lines where I live. And when they got to my house, they happened to have a truckload of wood chips that they were looking for a place to dump. So they dumped the chips, and so far I've gotten two 10x5 trailer loads of mulch from the one truckload that they dumped, and I've got probably about 2/3 of another load left in that one truckload. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to put that down on the garden around the apple trees and blueberries and stuff that we already have in the garden. It'll help retain moisture, and it gets a lot of microorganisms going in the ground, promotes a lot of earthworms, helps break loose the soil that we've got. My soil right here is not very good at all. Before we ever plant a garden, I'm hoping to get the whole garden about a foot deep in wood chips. So I've got a long way to go before I get a productive garden out here. Anyway, let me show you what I've got. So I already had some wood chips that I put down. It's probably about 3 trailer loads last year when I planted my blueberries, and it's done pretty good. You still get a lot of weeds and stuff up through it, but mine is only probably about 6 inches deep right now at the most, and that's really not enough. So I'm putting some more in here. I didn't have any where you see this piled right now, so this is going to be all new. And I've got the apple trees planted up against this fence, so that'll help retain a little moisture for them and hopefully improve the soil a little bit while they're trying to get some roots established. And we did have one casualty in the apple trees this year over the winter. My Granny Smith apple tree here did not make it. This had gotten some sort of blight in it in the fall last year, and I cut that out, but I may not have caught it early enough, or it may have just been too harsh of a winter. I'm not sure. It was the first winter for this. And all these trees that I planted were whips, so they didn't have a lot of foliage on them, just really a main leader. This is a Rawls Janet. It's pretty small still, but it has greened up this year, and I'm looking for it to do pretty well. And I've got a pound apple here, and you can see I got a cane pole there, kind of helping train some of those limbs out. And that one is growing up pretty good. It's almost up to that top cable, which is 8 foot, and whenever it reaches that, I'll top it so that it doesn't get any higher. That's my pound apple. This is a Hopel's Antique Gold here, and you see it's got a pretty good bit of foliage coming out on it. It's doing pretty well. It's not quite as tall as that other one, but it's got a lot of side limbs coming out, which is good, and they're coming out in the right heights for me to espalier them. This is a Virginia Gold apple tree here, and it has already reached that 8 foot mark, so it's going to be getting topped for sure this summer, and start trying to promote some of the side limbs growing out on it. Down here I have a Virginia Beauty. It's pretty spindly looking, but it has put out anyway, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But it is not nearly as tall as the other ones yet. And here is probably the best looking one. This is a Gala apple, and you can see the side shoots on it have almost reached the post where they'll get trimmed off at. and it is actually above the 8-foot wire at the top, so it's already needing to be topped. So it's doing pretty good. The idea is each one of these trees to put out sets of limbs like you see growing out here, and to be trained out onto these wires, and for that to be all the foliage there is. So we're looking to have 5 sets of limbs, and each set of limbs will be 10 foot wide from the post over to the next post, and so that'll be 50 feet of fruit-bearing limbs for each tree. So it's really not a whole lot, but these trees aren't being put in for production. These are really put in for aesthetics and just to give us some snacking apples, and it's pretty good variety. We've got some early, mid, and late season, so we'll have apples for a prolonged time, and we'll have sweet and tart and cider apples and baking apples and whatnot. This is a Carolina Red June here, and it's doing pretty well too, and it's already up above the 8-foot mark, so it needs to get trimmed off and try and promote some of the side limbs on it. And then I've got these trees here that I just started from some seeds from store-bought apples. I need to get these planted in the ground. They're not going to be planted in the garden. I'm just planting these out and about in the woods on the place. It's going to be more for the animals than for us. But there's some I think Autumn Glory and Granny Smith apples, both in that. And over in this group, I've got a peach tree right here. I've got 2 of them already planted in the garden. I've got 2 more that I need to plant somewhere, so those will be planted out and about on the place. I've got some pecan trees here and here and here and there. I've got a pawpaw tree there, and I think that was a Rose of Sharon that came up volunteer that I've got planted there. I've got some American persimmon trees here, some peach trees that I started from store-bought, or not peach, pear trees that I started from store-bought pear seeds. And then I've got some Chinese dates here. So I need to find somewhere out on the land to plant these for the wildlife to have, and just haven't gotten to that yet. But let me get this mulch spread out, and we'll see about going and picking up the last load. And that may have to be done another day, but I do want to get this spread out, so let's get to that.